Today we are going to discuss the issue of nationalism. What is a nation? What is meant by India as a nation? I notice that many don't have the understanding that the nation itself is a very recent concept, and India as a nation is much more recent. They do read that Gandhi is father of a nation, but they don't exactly understand how Gandhi can be a father of India as a nation. They don't fully see the recency of India's nationalism. So, let us explore what this is. So, let us first explore what is society and what is culture, what is a state, before we explore what nation is. See, first, culture and society. Society, to put simply, is a culture sharing group. Society is culture sharing group. Culture is learned behavior, values, attitudes, dress pattern, religious beliefs. All that is culture. And the group that shares this culture and also with a territorial basis is society. So society is landed and culture sharing. So that is about culture and society. And what is a state? Mankind, for most of the time, lived in societies that didn't have states. When did the first states evolve? In India, Indus Valley civilization is the first state. And later, Mahajanapadas. Next, state formation. What is a state? State is, there is a territory, and territory has a king and an army. That was how it started. Or it could be a council and an army. Basically, state is about monopolizing use of force in a legitimate way. That's how Max Weber defined state. Monopoly over legitimate use of force. Indus Valley was the state. Akbar Empire, state. Aurangzeb, state. Vijayanagara, state. And when the king was powerful, he had bigger states. When the king was not so powerful, the states were smaller. And people used to pay taxes to the ruler, and the ruler was supposed to guard them against foreign aggression, and also was expected to take care of them. And within a state, sometimes many societies, many cultures lived. So, culture is about behavioral patterns, thinking patterns. Society is a group, people with territory, and state is about law and order situation. So mankind for lakhs of years lived in stateless societies. Hunter-gatherers was a stateless society. And then states evolved. Then how about nations? How is a nation different from a state? Nation is also landed like society, but this is landed and also sense of we feeling to the land. Maybe an idea of common history, maybe common culture, maybe common problem, common past, whatever. Sense of we feeling is nation. India during British time was not a nation. Congress used to say that India was a nation in the making. Congress thought one of the goals of Congress was to make India a nation. Congress used to hold its sessions in variety of places in different corners of the country so that people would feel connected to something called India. Transport, railways, telegraph, common administration, common taxation, English, newspapers. All this contributed to the idea that we were one, or otherwise people were divided in terms of Hindus, Muslims, various castes, religions, regions. So India was a nation in the making, and there was an effort to make India a nation. One of the goals of Congress. So that was how nationalism was emerging in India. An anti-colonial struggle contributed to the nationalism. So Indian nationalism was originally based on anti-colonialism. In fact, nationalism developed in India like this, but also in many other places of the world, nationalism developed like this. Nationalism first evolved in Europe. German-speaking people constituted Germany, French-speaking people, France, Italian-speaking people, Italy. Language groups were cultural groups. They became states because they wanted to have a nation. Italian unification, German unification. So nationalism first evolved in the context of Europe on the basis of language. Nations were created, and those from Europe went around the world as colonial masters. And the struggle against them led to anti-colonial nationalism. So nationalism first evolved in Europe, then it spread to all over the world. So nationalism is a result of industrial revolution, capitalism, and its spread is a result of colonialism. So that is how nationalism came into existence. But let us look at Indian nationalism in general. Indian nationalism is based on, I would say, first, British borders. British borders. It is the British rule that gave these particular borders. And anti-colonial struggle assumed these borders, and then it said, this is going to be India. No ruler from Assam or the northern side ruled Nagaland. But how did Nagaland become part of India? Because there had been British rule. So, British rule as the border, an identity was sought to be created. That was how different societies, different cultures, religions, castes were made into become a nation. But the territorial basis was British rule, British borders. Okay. Next, let us look at how this nation gets formed and its relationship with history as a discipline. What history does is that it projects some idea of the past and projects some idea of the future. And it gives certain common goals. So, history made an important contribution. Not only in the case of India, history makes an important contribution in creating nations. So that is how around British India borders, an idea of India with certain common goals, common aspirations, a particular account of history, India is sought to be created. So that is the relationship between history and India. So India is a construct. India is a construct. You can't equate Hinduism with India. Hinduism did not confine to geographical part. It sometimes went beyond. In fact, there were many states which ruled northern India from Afghanistan. So states' borders keep changing, and some areas which were never ruled by any kingdom based on India came to be part of India as a nation. So there is arbitrariness in what is India. That arbitrariness is an outcome of arbitrariness of British conquest. So leaders of freedom struggle made a claim to inherit British borders and create a common destiny and give a particular account of the past. So that is how India as a nation came into existence. But what kind of account that we wanted to have, what kind of destiny we wanted to have, whether that account is a healthy account or not is an issue. So what is nationalism now? Nationalism is the sense of identity to a land, loyalty to landed identity. And as a part of nation building, this landed identity was given priority over previous identities. Indian first, Bengali next. Or Indian first, Hindu next. So previous identities were checked out or given reduced importance, and Indian identity highlighted. This all is a part of nationalism. But what are the problems with this? I think any identity has its own advantages and disadvantages. Old identities were subordinated and new identity is given. But new identity also has its own problems. Wars, nuclear weapons, mobilization of huge armies, huge financial resources, development of hatred across the borders. Are these issues? So identity comes with certain positive things. Identity comes with certain negative things. So the construction of Indian identity also has certain problems as well as certain issues. But these issues are also related to how the identity is constructed. Okay. Why are we discussing under sins of Indian history? There is no sufficient focus on idea that this is an identity and we constructed it and in a very artificial way, and this we did recently and we assumed certain things and we are accordingly changing the past. That most students are not aware of. Students think India has been given, somebody ruled, and Indians check them out. Students don't think India has been created for a specific purpose, and so recently, probably very, very artificially, and probably the construction itself has certain issues, and we may have made certain errors in constructing India, and the errors we made are preventing us from solving the problems. These things are not understood, which I think historians should have very, very clearly communicate it. Thank you.